Exporting for laser cutting will have the following workflow. First of all, we're going to create a sketch for each object that we need to cut out. Then we're going to convert that sketch into a Dxf file. Once we've got those Dxf files, we're going to place all of them into Adobe Illustrator. Then we need to add a text or decorative layer that we can either scan or cut at a faster rate so that it actually just marks the material rather than going right through. Once we've done that, we can set it to the technician for laser cutting. It's now time to create a sketch for each object that you have here. So the way I do this is I turn all the objects on that I'm going to need, and then I start working through them in a fairly systematic approach. So the first one I'm going to be doing and the one I'm going to demonstrate with, is the outside of the crank handle. So I'm going to create a sketch, and I'm going to choose and make sure I select the outside of the crank handle. It'll then take me in there. I'm going to press P for project. I'm going to click somewhere in the middle there so that all lines are basically lit up, and then I'm going to press OK. You'll now see that I've got purple outlines around all edges that I need to cut on the laser cutter. I'm going to now hit stop sketch. That sketch is now visible, and I'm going to go into my sketches, and this one's the visible one here, and I'm going to call it crank handle Dxf, so that I know, I didn't accept that change, crank handle Dxf, enter. There we go, it's accepted that change. I'm now going to turn that sketch off, and I'm also going to turn the crank handle off. I'm now going to repeat the process again, and I'll do it one more time for your benefit. I'm going to click on create sketch. This time I'm going to click on this particular one here. I'm going to press P for project, and I'm going to choose that particular one and press on OK. I'm then going to hit stop sketch, and you'll see now I've got a new sketch down here, and this is going to be called upright. Press enter, and now it's called upright. Now I don't need to do the second upright because they're both exactly the same. So I can now turn off that upright and turn off this upright and this upright. And now I just need to work through the final things. I don't need to do the axles, so I should turn those off as well. So I do need to do 3 more things, and I'll do those now. I now have everything turned off, and I've got my final one here, which is going to be called base.dxf, and I'm going to press enter, and there it goes. I can turn all these back on again, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and these are all the parts that I need to create Dxf files for. So now that I've created the sketches, I now need to create the Dxf files. It's now time to export my 5 Dxf files, keeping in mind that I need to print 2 uprights or cut 2 uprights. So basically I just need to work my way through, and I like to actually have them all turned on, plus all the parts turned on, and then I work through like so. I go right click, save as Dxf, and I've got a file on my desktop called Gear System, which I'm going to save it in. I wish it would transfer the name across, but it doesn't. So I'm just going to call this my crank handle, and I'm going to press save. I'm going to turn that one off now so I know I've done it. I'm going to right click on this one, go save as Dxf. This one is going to be called upright, but because I need 2 of them, I'm going to write X2 so that I remember that I need 2. Hit save. Small cog, save as Dxf. Small cog, save. Large cog, save as Dxf. Large cog, save. And base finally, save as Dxf, and call it base and hit save. It's now time to work in Adobe Illustrator in order to create our actual cut file. We're now working in Adobe Illustrator, and we're going to basically create our file size, or the size of our image, to match the size of our material. So we're going to go File, and we're going to create a new file, and we're going to use a custom size. Our material width is 800. Our material height, the actual width of each board, is 140. So we're going to take 5 mils off just to make it ensure that we don't have any issues, and that will be basically 135 millimeters, and we're going to call this one our gear system. I'm going to click on OK now, and all of our pieces, I'm going to hit skip on these. I get these errors. You probably won't get these errors. All of our pieces need to fit on this strange size piece of screen, which is actually the same size as our material in real life. So I'm going to go basically File, Place, and I'm going to place from the desktop. There it is there. From Gear System, all of these files, I'm going to select them all. Remembering that I've got upright X2, and hit Place. And I'm just going to put them anywhere for the time being along here. So the objective here is to basically make it so that they take up the least amount of space as possible, so that we're not wasting our timber. So I'm going to select on, making sure the black selection tool is selected on this one, and I'm going to select it, and then I'm going to move my mouse to the top corner, press and hold Shift, and drag it round until it's sideways, and making sure that I've still got that selected. Just going to drag it over here so that it fits on there like so. I might bring this around here as well, like so, and oops, click on it again and move it up there, and yes, it fits. I can zoom in on this, and it definitely fits on there. You need a little bit of space between things, but not a huge amount. So I'm going to move that to there just to make it as efficient as possible. Got my gear here. I'm going to move that in close to there without touching it. And this gear here is good. And then I've got this upright here. I need 2 of them. Might go this way and see if it fits, which it does. And this is going to take up the least amount of space possible. And then I'm going to press on this, select it, edit, copy, edit, paste. There's another one. Just move it along. You can use the arrow keys if you want to move it. And if you press and hold Shift, it moves a bit faster. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to select the whole lot now just by drawing a box around with the selection tool. I'm going to change the stroke size to 1 point so that we've got a 1 point stroke size, and that should do a good job. I'm now going to lock this layer down in the layers panel down here. You can see layers, click on that, lock the layer. If you can't see layers, click on essentials, and that'll give you the layers down there somewhere. Okay, I'm going to create a new layer now. That's the new layer button. This is the red layer, and this is where I'm going to put any decorative features. For example, if I wanted to put in some text in here saying 2 to 1 gear system, I press escape at this point, and I can now zoom this up, so make it bigger like so. And one thing I'm going to make sure that you do is every single part you create, you put your initials on somewhere. So it can be small as you want. So for example, I'm going to create text tool here. Okay, and I'm just going to say TIC, those are my initials. I'm going to make them really small. Let's just make them like, no, let's just try 7 points. That's really small, there you go. And that's just going to be somewhere here. Command C, Command V, there it is down there, just move it onto that one somewhere. Command C, Command V, just drag it onto one of those. Control C, Control V, that'll be fine. Yeah, you probably want yours in a more discrete location because these are actually going to be burnt into your particular thing. So Control C, Control V, one on there, and Control C, Control V. I want one over here. Oops. Having trouble grabbing that now. I'm going to zoom up. There you go. Over there. Oops, even further. Zoom in. And that one can be there. So I've got all of those there. Those are all my names. So now that I've got those in there, I need to select them all. So I can, because I've got this layer locked, I don't select it, so I select all of them. And then I can go on to type, and I need to choose create outlines. That's really important to create the outlines. Now that I've got those layers done, I can now go File, Save, or Save As. I'm going to save it in my Gear Systems folder on the desktop, the Gear Systems folder there, and I'm just going to save it straight like that. Press OK. And that is the file I need to Dropbox so that our technician can print it.